Hang out so much. Okay.
Did anybody have any questions?
I was always very interested in doing on-air television kinds of things, and I'm very interested in international news, specifically being an international student myself. Now, through my internships the past few years, I also got to experience the producing side of things as I shadowed my supervisors, and I'm very interested in doing that as well. So, and eventually I want to try to do both. How feasible is it to switch back and forth? And
Being from producer to on-air? It's feasible. I mean, you know, I do it whenever I'm in New York and, you know, at the Wall Street Journal with the Digital Network. You know, not only do I write and report and produce my own stuff, I do that with the newspaper reporters and with the editors. We do Q&As, we do packages, we do you know, in their own voice kind of things. And we do stuff where they go out, they shoot stuff, we'll write a script, they can voice it, you know, we'll stitch it all together, you know, and get a package that can go with the front page news story on the Wall Street Journal. So it's not tough. You have to find the right place that will also allow you the freedom to do that. The more work you do, especially the closer you get to people that you work with, they'll have a sense of trust in your ability and what you do, and you won't have to think twice about switching hats. Meantime, I come up later because there's a guy at ITV that I should give you the email for, and he's in Asia, but you know, they're based in London, and you know, I think you could probably find
I think things have changed a lot too. I mean, I remember when I graduated, there was a thought that I was like, oh, maybe I want to do on-air stuff, and then I got into it, and I was like, it's not for me. But I think that, you know, when I first graduated, when you hear about people going on air, it's you have to pay your dues, and you have to move to Wichita, Kansas, and you have to, you know, or Wichita, and you have to, you know, pay your dues and work at the bottom in local television, move your way up. And I think, you know, partially because of the way that the internet has become so involved in TV now, everything's becoming integrated. And so you have the ability to get some experience doing on-air stuff with a lot of .coms now, abcnews.com, you know, wallstreetjournal.com, cnn.com. So there's a lot more opportunities, I think, to kind of switch back and forth. And I also think that as kind of news is changing a little bit, and I think, you know, something that I've noticed at CNN a lot is you have the producers who maybe have a specific beat, and they a lot of times, when their reporter who they normally work with isn't available, will end up doing a lot of on-camera work because just because kind of the changing nature of the way news is. So I think that more so than 5 or 10 years ago, I think it is easier to kind of get that experience doing the news gathering, doing the producing, doing the writing, but then also being able to take those things that you've learned and that, you know, you've been helping your reporter or whatever do if you are a producer, and, you know, using those skills yourself to be able to do a little bit more on-air stuff if that's what you want to do. So I think that, you know, the internet and stuff has helped with that a lot.
I'm so hungry for content. So, you know, you just have to find the right spot, and you know, when you're in.
And if you get yourself a job as a producer of some sort, and if you can be aggressive and sort of worm your way into doing other things. I mean, I directed Marketplace, but I would just keep pitching them stories that I thought were really good, and then they'd give me a shot because they knew me. I was a producer. I worked with them every day, and you could get a little more experience doing a little bit of on-air work while you were also doing your production work. And then the more you do that, the more diversified you are within the job too. And I think then you're a really appealing candidate for something like an international posting, because you can produce, you can do the on-air work, you can do the editing, and you can sell yourself that way. So if you're aggressive and persistent, I think it's easier now than it used to be to get some on-air work while you're a producer.
Well, and I also think that's something that's very true. I mean, with CNN, we have bureaus everywhere. But I think the bottom line is that for programming in the United States, that's where a lot of the focus is. So that if you work at a bureau in Paris or Rome or something like that, at least for some place like CNN, you do have more of an opportunity to do everything because there are less people in that bureau. So you need to learn how to write, you need to learn how to produce, but you also need to learn how to do some of the technical things as well. So I think, you know, in terms of the international aspect, I think there are, you know, chances. The more that you know, the better is the bottom line, and it can never hurt you.
Hi, Claire. Thanks for doing this. Hi, Jane. I knew when I heard your story on surfboards, the surfboard guy in Marketplace, that you were going to make it into the on-air.
Thank you.
You know, so wasn't that your first
That was my very first
story that you pitched out? That was really great. I would like to ask all of you, what's your next shot? What's your next goal? Where are you heading for? What's the dream?
You're being
I'm going to quit and become an eye bank.
Well, we have tons of connections. Not to worry.
Finance the dream, so that's, you know. But yeah, that's something. That's an interesting thing. I mean, I've been out there a little while, and yeah, I've been out for about, well, it's my 20-year anniversary for Middlebury graduating. I think my next act. I mean, as I was grinding the axe with the public service idea, I really think that is what is lacking. You know, it's a little bit cliched, you know, the soulless corporate, you know, job. But at the same time, well, you know, there's something to be said for that. There's something you think is really important. Sometimes it still just won't get there, even no matter how much you try to pitch that thing. So I mean, I've taken matters in my hand. One of the side projects that I'm doing. My local town recently, just in the past 10 years, purchased a farmhouse, 2 barns, 22 acres of land from a woman who died and had no living survivors. In Connecticut, as in Vermont, there are just waning numbers of farms. And this also comes at a strange time because people are so interested in organic farming, the local produce, and being hooked in there in your community where you live. And, you know, so this seemed to be a good time for the town to purchase the land and the buildings and, you know, just kind of bring them back and try to make them relevant in people's lives. I, you know, had been pitching these guys for about a year, and another nonprofit, so, you know, hey. But, you know, they've engaged me to do a couple videos, both about 10 minutes long, one for the web, and I had multiple chapters, and the other one to help raise money to help get these projects done. There's education there going on, there's organic farming, there's renovation of the buildings, which are hundreds of years old, and there's a real ice house. So all that stuff is great, and I felt so strongly that I really wanted to get involved with it. But it did take about a year to pitch that, even just to the, you know, it's a foundation, the difficult board members. So my next act would be to do projects that I think are worthy and interesting. Maybe don't have as many editors or viewers, but they're important, very important. You gotta have a producer, you gotta have an editor. You have to have somebody to vet it and challenge you on everything, because otherwise they'll go out and, you know, you need a second pair of eyes.
Yeah, to answer your question, I think that I'm sort of in my next step right now. I've spent most of my career thus far doing traditional sports marketing with, basically there's the buy side, the sell side, and the maximization side. I've been on the maximization side for the bulk of my career.
What does that mean?
Buy side, it's very much like money. I mean, there's basically 3 different buckets you can work in. You can, on the buy side in sports marketing, you would be working as the MasterCards, the major corporations, the Pepsis, the Gatorades. You have a marketing budget and you want to spend it in sports marketing. Instead of buying the traditional 30-second advertisement, you want to associate yourself with a sport or a property. So you're on the buy side. On the sell side, you are that sport or property. You're the PGA, you're the Mountain Dew Tour, you're the US Open, you're on the sell side. You create an entity, you package it, and you sell it to either media channels or corporations. The maximization side is traditionally